I'm at 211 Stratford Lane in Xenia, Ohio, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. The stack here is PVC. And should be PVC all the way out based off the age of the house. And so there is a clean out in the floor in the very front, but it is under a long strip of shelving or cupboards, and then wardrobes, whatever you want to call them. And so what we're going to try to do here is go through make it all the way out to the main and not have to worry about trying to move that stuff to get to that access. Sorry, I'm hearing possibly some water running down the stack, so I don't want to open it and it's just a little bit of water, but I obviously don't want that on the floor. So I'm going to pause the video, go upstairs for a minute, and make sure that there's nothing coming through this stack. All right. So we're going into the stack in the anything better to call this except for maybe the art room, the crafts room here with some sewing and some painting stuff. It's right here next to the stationary tub. And so we are going to push out as far as we can. Hopefully we make it all the way to the main. I think this does carry the sink line, so there's probably going to be a little bit more goo in this line, just because it carries food and sometimes it gets on the front of the camera. But I can run this stationary tub a little bit, and we'll see if we can rinse that off for a minute. Hopefully it's nice and quiet. But I should be able to rinse the camera lens off like this. There we go. Go. You'll be able to keep that running. So I don't like the fact that this has an S-bend in it, just due to the fact that it might keep me from pushing out as far. The more turns we have, the more it limits my ability to get out all the way. And then we'll push out. Probably what I should do is turn the water off here, and then that way we're not filling the water up as we go. But I may end up having to run because this looks like we have a pretty hefty belly here. This is holding water. And it looks like it's way above the lens. It looks like 3 inch or more. I'm going to try to let this drain off and see what we have. I'll remember that, about 40 to 42 feet. I did not zero the camera out when I put it in, and I should have. So there was a belly there. There is the clean out just up above. And so anything, the good news is we've made it here, so if we need to, I can try to make it move and go in through that floor clean out if we are unable to make it all the way out to the main. Looks like we are going to switch from the Schedule 40 PVC to Schedule or SDR 35. It's just different rating systems. They are both PVC pipe. So hopefully we do have a little bit more on there, but if we get all the way out, we should be able to rinse the camera lens off, and we'll be able to see a lot better on the way back. To be able to just kind of shake that off a little bit, but it just doesn't want to go, huh? There we go. That's a little cleaner. So if we need to, we'll wait till we get all the way out, and then we'll run that. We'll run some more water and see if we can get this cleaned off, because pushing it does that, where you're pushing stuff up against the lens, kind of plowing through it. Looks like we may have found an outside clean out coming in from the left. So that's another plus, so that if I can actually go find this and be able to go from this point out if I'm unable to get all the way out to the main in this circumstance. So, there we go. So you can see that little bit of water in the bottom of the pipe. That is normal. It's just the line being flat. The camera lens is only a ½ inch off the bottom of the pipe, so that water is nothing. You can actually see kind of the high water mark on the sides of the pipe. I know it's foggy, but I'm pretty used to looking at even an obstructed view through this camera. So we're getting out 165, 166 feet. I think we'd be getting pretty close to the main, and I think I see an opening ahead of us. And there we go. So we were able to make it all the way to the main. Good thing too, because I was starting to run out of camera here. I only carry about 200 feet. So we're going to run some water here. I'm going to pause the video, and we're going to run some water down here, kind of flush the line out. But during that time, I'm going to pause the video so we don't have a bunch of dead airspace. We're just waiting. So we're going to pause the video. Be back in a second. Okay, I'm running the stationary tub here in this art room, or whatever you want to call it, and then also run some water in the downstairs bathroom. And so we're going to pull back and just witness how well everything's flowing. If it is carrying too much water and I can't see real well, I'll have to shut it down, but we want to try to make sure that the lens stays clean here. I didn't really see anything on the way out. It was concerning. We did have the belly that was inside the house, and that I'll mark that and note that on the report. It's something that will have to be monitored. It's not presently causing an issue. I didn't see any buildup of solids or anything in it. The water should have enough speed coming down out of the stacks that it overtakes it rather easy. But it is something that will need to be paid attention to. And we'll probably recommend that a licensed plumber take a look at it just for a second opinion. But all the exterior lines look great. So again, I am going to stop at about 122 feet or so. There was a outside clean out, and I'm going to make sure that that's uncovered. If not, I will mark it with a green flag, just for homeowners' reference in the future. If it's ever needed, they'll know exactly where to find it. All the joints look nice and tight. I don't see any offsets, no separations. Should be coming up on that outside clean out here. Right here. You can see coming in from the top left then, probably about 11 o'clock. So we'll bounce it around a little bit here. I'll set right underneath it, and then I'm going to pause the video. We're going to go out and get a locate. Make sure that this is visible and marked. Okay, so we found the clean out is buried, so we found exactly where it is. The cap is roughly about 5 inches deep, it looks to be, just from doing some probing in the area where the camera's sitting. But it is marked with a green flag, and it is noted clean out on the flag. So you could either set something on it, a lawn ornament or something, not necessarily a lawn ornament, but something that would mark it. Or you could take a measurement off the house, XY off of a corner of a house or something to keep for your record. But it is out there, and if anything's ever needed by a plumber or something in the future, you'll at least know that there is access outside. Okay, we're back in the schedule 40, or the interior pipe. There's the inside clean out that is under the those wardrobes in the very front of the basement. It is visible. It's just under those pieces of furniture. And then when I get back to a certain point, and we get to that belly that we noticed on the way out, I'm going to turn off the water, see if we can get it to drain down and just how far. I believe it was around 44 feet, but with water running, it's kind of hard to tell where it ended, and you're pushing water up the front of the camera. So good to see the lens go under. To me, that may be gone. It could have been a situation, but here we go. You see it kind of fluctuating here. So I'm going to turn the water off. We're going to let this drain down a little bit, as much as we can, and that'll give us a more accurate representation of how much water it's holding once everything that can escape does. So we're going to pause the video again and wait for this to drain down. Okay, so this is just about the end of the belly. It is marked with a piece of tape on the floor, and then we're going to pull back to the beginning as far as upstream as we can go until we get back out of the water, and we'll be able to gauge how deep that is. Again, that camera lens is about a ½ inch off the bottom of the pipe. So right now you're probably at about 3/4 of an inch of water, and if we stayed around that, then it's not really a concern, and I would say it's still pretty minor. But if you can see here, we wait for the particles to kind of settle, and you're about maybe half the pipe, which would be roughly not quite that, about 1.5 inches, looks like there, based off of the line on the side of the pipe. And so it's nowhere near as heavy as it looked when we first got into it. Pushing out with some water running, it rose above that, and so it's roughly 1.5 inches drop, which is not real uncommon to have some belly. You do have some settling that goes on after backfilling sometimes. I didn't see any solid buildup, so everything is escaping. It's not restricting flow. But this is, I would consider this a medium sized belly, just above minor. It's not causing any present issues or backups, but just something to keep in mind and to monitor. I'm going to recommend that you have a licensed plumber take a look at the video, just to, get their opinion of the severity of it. But right now it's not causing any problems at time of inspection. So I do want to take the time here at the end to recommend never using wet wipes, never flushing them anyway. They can cause, in something like that, they could very easily cause issues because they don't break down. You ever take a wet wipe and a piece of toilet paper and you run them both underwater, you'll notice that the toilet paper breaks down and disintegrates like it's supposed to, which would easily overtake something like that. And when you have a wet wipe, it may float, but it never breaks down. And so it can, if it catches on anything, it can very easily cause a backup or a problem where there doesn't have to be one, and there isn't an actual problem. So again, the whole line looked really great. You had you know, like that 10 feet, which I'm actually going to go back and mark it. I believe it was under the wall, but I do want to make sure that both sides are marked just for reference. And so, even with it being relatively minor, I do want to go back in there and just mark the very beginning of that. If I can get in there, at least mark it close. So I believe we were right around where we turned. And there we go. There's the beginning of it. And so again, it's probably nothing, and I think if you get a second opinion, the plumber's not going to find this serious at all. But again, having a second set of eyes is always a good idea. So we're going to pause the video real quick and get this final locate. Okay, so this end of it is in the bathroom after it passes the toilet. And it is also 9 inches deep on both ends of this are 9 inches deep for the invert. And so it's really more than anything, it's basically sitting flat, which is pretty normal to have inside a house, but usually the lines inside the house are usually pretty flat. The minimum slope you need is only about 1/8 of an inch per foot. So, you know, roughly a foot every 100 feet, maybe 96 feet of drop. So it doesn't have to be a lot. So just having that flat spot, even though it is, like I said, I'd say it's roughly 1.5 inches belly. In my opinion, it's not a serious issue, and it's not causing any backups right now. But again, I just want to reiterate, you could have a plumber take a look at that for a second opinion, just to be sure, to feel comfortable with it. But I don't see it, but it's not causing any issues at time of inspection. And the rest of the line looked wonderful. There were no obstructions, no separations, nothing of concern whatsoever in the rest of the line. And so that will end the inspection at 211 Stratford Lane in Xenia, Ohio.